Good afternoon, Cara, and thank you for your time on the PM News Desk.
Good afternoon.
Cara, an increased visibility of pregnant learners at our secondary schools across the country. Speak to us of the effects of such pregnancies on school attendance, performance, etc., as perceived by educators.
I think, the difficulty with teen pregnancy is that it comprises of so many, challenges for the teenagers. So, having to go to doctor's appointments and feeling a bit sick and struggling with their family situation, the relationship with whoever the partner was. And so often you would find their attendance at school very poor, which often teachers struggle with because they can't teach them the way that they want to, and they don't come in for extra lessons. And so there's a difficulty when they have to mark the kids and give them grades to be able to give them an accurate representation of what their ability is, because they don't often attend the classes.
Cara, it's been illegal to exclude pregnant learners from school in South Africa since 1996. Unfortunately, it still happens sometimes. What we want is for learners to continue their education in a non-judgmental environment. What are some of the psychological barriers to that, Cara? How do we go about remedying the scholastic exclusion of pregnant teenagers in South Africa today?
I think that the main thing is that we as teachers or as parents or even as, the pupils in the school, we have to get over our own judgment with regards to teen pregnancy. We all have, our view of why it shouldn't happen or what happened, but we don't really know the situations of that teenager and what's going on for them. So sometimes we have to put that aside and be able to put in a little bit more assistance with that girl and understand maybe her situation and understand maybe the difficulties she's going through. Because they often go through quite a lot of stigma. So, they get peers that sort of are saying things to them and other people that are saying things to them. So it's quite difficult for them to want to go back. They often don't want to go back to school.
Cara, like you're saying, this is indeed a narrative that's often steeped in stigma. How do pregnant teenagers react from the stigma of falling pregnant and being in a stage of mothering while attending secondary school?
I think the difficulty is that it depends on if they've got support at home. So often teenagers that fall pregnant won't have support from their parents because their parents, don't feel that that's the thing that should have happened, and they don't often want to support them. So they're coming from a home that's not supportive, where a school where maybe the teachers aren't supportive, their peers aren't supportive. And so it actually puts quite a lot of psychological burden on these teenagers, where they can often become very depressed, very emotional, which of course, in terms of being pregnant, all of those sort of emotions and feelings, we don't realize that, of course, they transfer to the baby as well. So often they will have more complicated births or a bit of an attachment difficulty with their baby once it's born because of those difficulties in those early sort of few months, because of no support that they're given.
Primary focus, Cara, should be on sex education and the prevention of pregnancies. But second chances should be made available to prevent the loss of human potential. When it comes to the reintegration of new moms back into the schooling system, research shows that these numbers are very low indeed. What are some of the barriers to new moms re-entering the education system?
I think the one difficulty is sometimes because, they've had a difficult pregnancy and then they have a difficult few months with their child. It's quite difficult for them because they often have to repeat a year. So there's not just a stigma of going back because you had a baby, but also because you have to repeat a year. But it's so important for them to get support. So for the teachers to be able to help them while they're pregnant, give them notes, go once a week and say, this is what you've missed, this is the work you've done. So they're not missing so much work over that period. Because then teens are more likely to go back to school because they don't feel they've missed so much. And if the school's able to sort of accommodate them and let them write exams in a separate venue or, support them a little bit at school, then teenagers are going to want to go back to school because they should see the benefit of getting their education, because that's the one thing that will be able to help them to look after their babies and, be able to also keep themselves happy as well, so they don't just drop out of school and then have nothing that they can really fall back on.
Educational psychologist Carol Blackie on the line there. Thank you for your time on the PM News Desk.